Lately, the battle against microtransactions and loot boxes has seemed more hopeless than ever before. We have gotten to a point in which major publishers have become so comfortable to exploiting their consumers that they aren't even trying to hide it anymore. But the good news is that more and more people are becoming aware of the issue and they're beginning to rise to the cause. The latest uprising comes from the UK. According to a Reddit user going by the name of Art Funkel, he asked his MP, or Member of Parliament, in the British government to raise the topic of regulating loot boxes. The MP's name is Daniel Zeigmer, Labour MP of Cambridge, and the Reddit user apparently asked him to submit 2 written questions on their behalf, which read as follows. To ask the Secretary of State for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport what steps she plans to take to help protect vulnerable adults and children from illegal gambling, in-game gambling, and loot boxes within computer games. To ask the Secretary of State for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport what assessment the government has made of the effectiveness of the Isle of Man's enhanced protections against illegal and in-game gambling and loot boxes, and what discussions she has had with cabinet colleagues on adopting such protections in the UK. Clicking on either of these links will direct you to a page on parliament.uk where a response to these inquiries can be found, which reads, "The Gambling Commission released a position paper in March 2017 detailing existing protections in place for in-game gambling, virtual currencies, and loot boxes. The paper can be found on the Commission's website at the following link. Where items obtained in a computer game can be traded or exchanged outside the game platform, they acquire a monetary value. And where facilities for gambling with such items are offered to consumers located in Britain, a gambling commission license is required. If no license is held, the commission uses a wide range of regulatory powers to take action. Protecting children and vulnerable people from being harmed or exploited by gambling is one of the core objectives of the regulation of gambling in Great Britain and a priority for the government. The Gambling Commission have a range of regulatory powers to take action where illegal gambling is taking place. Earlier this year, the Gambling Commission successfully prosecuted the operators of a website providing illegal gambling facilities for in-game items, which was accessible to children, the first regulator in the world to bring such an action. The government recognized the risks that come from increasing convergence between gambling and computer games. The Gambling Commission is keeping this matter under review and will continue to monitor developments in the market. Going back to the Reddit post, the user talked about a very positive meeting they had with the MP a few weeks ago and provided the following bullet points. The goal here is to see the UK's existing gambling regulations apply to loot boxes. The Isle of Man is a British territory which explicitly defines in-game items as money's worth in its gambling laws. It's currently the only place in the world that does so. In the language of Parliament, both of these questions are saying, "You should do this." Replies seem to take about a month to arrive. When one does arrive, it is highly likely to be something non-committal rather than "we'll get right on it." That's okay, the point is to start the conversation. The post finally concluded by stating that since this is probably the first time the issue has been raised to Parliament, it's not quite fighting them at the beaches, but noted that it was a significant first step nonetheless. On top of all this, a few days ago, an online petition urging the UK government to adapt gambling laws to include video game loot boxes reached over 10,000 signatures. In the UK, that means that the government has to take a look at it and respond. The official response that they issued to the petition was the same non-committal one that the Reddit post linked to, but still, I think this is great. This is probably the most hopeful I've been about subduing major publishers' shady microtransactions and loot boxes practices in a long time. Now, it is worth noting that I highly doubt that these practices will disappear forever, but regulation goes a long way in ensuring that they're implemented in a non-toxic, non-intrusive, and non-exploitative way. One interesting solution that I've heard being brought up in internet forums is having games with loot boxes be rated higher, like M for mature. The argument is that if virtual violence, virtual nudity, and virtual sexually suggestive content calls for a higher rating, then so should what is essentially gambling with real money for virtual content. And this way, if publishers want to reach a wider audience with a teen rating or whatever, it will make them think twice about implementing such microtransactions and loot box features. It will also raise awareness to casual video game consumers about the fact that loot boxes pretty much use the same principles as gambling. It's something that would have to be disclosed. Right now, the publishers have too much free reign over how they can implement this stuff, and it can be pretty detrimental to not just the games themselves, but also to players with addictive tendencies. And yes, no matter how much publishers and the ESRB deny it, loot boxes are straight up gambling. They take advantage of the same psychological instincts and reactions. There's a reason why more traditional gambling is regulated. They can have serious detrimental effects on people's lives, which is why the same level of regulation should be applied to loot boxes as well. So it's good to see people talking, that the conversation is slowly building up and being moved up the chain of command. It might be a while before the conversation yields something tangible, but hey, it all has to start somewhere. And when this does finally go somewhere, it's bound to cause a ripple effect. It'll get more people talking, and it's an issue that will eventually have to be taken seriously. Especially if we want to stop Activision from implementing their despicable and manipulative microtransactions matchmaking system that they trademarked recently that exploits novice players by purposely and unfairly matching them with more experienced players to entice them into purchasing in-game items to get to that level, which I talked about extensively in my last video. I'm legit still nauseous from talking about that. I can't believe this is our current reality. I can't believe this is what the video game industry has become. But it is not all hopeless, folks. Hell, in China, they already passed a law that, starting from May 2017, forced video game loot boxes to disclose the odds of getting certain items, which is a big step in the right direction. Slowly but surely, we are making progress. We just have to keep pushing. With that, I would like to end this news update and discussion video. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this video useful. Spread the word, and if you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon. All contributions will go towards helping us remain 100% independent. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Yong Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Yong out!